All right, guys, they let me in the country. Voyager! It's Voyager! Hey, what's up, puppy? Guys, we're here. We're in Colombia with Voyager and Monica. Voyager and Monica are the duo behind all of the Voyager art. Monica made beautiful color and backgrounds for the Shelllz Orb collection, and we're talking about what we're doing moving forward.
Salud!
Salud! Shells up. All right, so we are here with Voyager, aka Chris. We're here working on some of the new Shelllz line art. Chris, why don't you let us know show us what you're doing.
Okay, so here we are in the process of creating a new one-of-one. This will be a feline character, will be a mutation of a feline, a cat, and he will be inspired in the Nara.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it will be a character that represents sort of a idol, if I can say it like that, or the leader of a group. And in this way, he's really also inspiring the Yakuza. What I was doing here is creating the stages of the layering of the character. As it is a one-of-one, there's no need to have a really intricate amount of layers as it is done with the traits of the other characters.
And so you use Clip Studio Paint?
Yes, I use Clip Studio Paint since around 4 or 5 years ago. As I use a lot of line art in my work, when I was using Photoshop, it was really a long process to add color to this intricate amount of lines, right? Like it really took me a long time because it was like a manual process.
Yeah.
With Clip Studio, we have sort of a more automatic process for some areas, and the quality of it will have a better result too. In minor details, for example, in Photoshop, if you do the fill, sometimes the fill doesn't match with the line. And you have to manually paint over the section that is really close to the line art. While in Clip, you just focus on the color palette, what you want to try, and the program itself knows where the line is. So it paints over the line, like below the line.
Mm-hmm.
So it covers all the spaces.
What was your inspiration for this piece, this one-of-one piece that we're looking at?
So for this one-of-one, I was thinking on the orb and how some characters that are outside the factions area, which have lived maybe even more time in this world, in this universe, had gather access to the energy of the orb in their own way, and they have the ability to use this energy, this power. So this character is inspired on the sadhus of the India a bit, and this is people which live exactly like in the outskirts of the main cities or a main city, and they have like their own practices, rituals, which basically the first step is that you get rid of all of your material belongings. And this character is sort of that, like he doesn't have a faction, he doesn't have a crew, or
Yeah.
So he's in his own, and after a lot of years he managed a way between technology and the energy of the orb. Here you have like what I was doing right now in the liner with the Yakuza cat, and this is how, for example, Monica or Malu will send me the character in this sort of layering of colors. Afterwards, then what I do is that I begin to apply all the volume, the lights, the different effects.
The shadows.
The shadows.
Wow.
Then some extra texture, the bright area of the characters.
So what's going on here?
So here we have one of the base Nara characters from the Shelllz first collection, and we want to see a bit of how the layering was organized in a way that we can get these really detailed outcomes, but at the same time, this organization so the traits can be combined and they all look cohesive with their faction and the aesthetic and the style of each one. So we have the foreground layer, which is this one.
Yeah.
This is sort of an environmental layer that is used to complement or give a frame to the character. We have the background here, which, as you have seen, it could be a flat background, a design, or a more illustrated background. And in here we have the character, in this case the monk. Number 10 is because it's the number 10th base character from the collection. So here we have an shell accessory, right? This one. We have the arm.
Oh,
we have the hat. We have the mask, weapon. We have the shell, the body, head, and legs. So what we did is to have a template of the main features of the base character and have a respect for this template, to follow the limits of each character size. For example, these kind of measurements here and limits. So when I'm designing new traits for each character, let's say I'm doing a new hat, in this case the hat, this is really precise stuff because the hat has this silhouette.
Mm-hmm.
So if I do a head that, let's say, goes like this, then this layer, when it's going to the process of combination, this layer wouldn't match. Right. So a small stuff like this was really important to figure out how to keep a template where the artists know the measurements of each trait and how they can recreate it in a way that when they exchange the different traits, they will always match the face, the head, and the body of the character. For example, with the arm, something that happened with the first iteration of characters was that if you remove the arm, you will see here sort of a gap.
Yeah.
And you will see like through the character and you can see the background. So just in terms of animation or maybe a trait that had, for example, in the cyber characters, there are some arms that contains cables and everything, so you can see through the arm. If we didn't match this over here, you will see also the mistakes we have in the other layers. So
yeah.
It was really important to keep all these like really straight up with all the layerings, even if you think that you will never saw this kind of details. At the end, they will show up in some way. So yes, it was better to keep it clean. And what we did also with the weapons was to have more flexible frame for them. So we usually manage like this kind of box. And this was a really nice detail for the weapons because they become super flexible to adjust. Like we could even have different amounts of weapons in this area. Some characters can have like 2-3 katanas, because we could move them like around this area, and they will always combine with all the different bodies and arms and shells distances in here. Now I think we can go to a traded character. So this was a base character. We can check on here. This is one of the basic layouts and templates we use at the beginning, like no details.
Yeah. So tell them about these two traits, like these two characters. What do these two outlines mean?
So based on the first character, the Ronin, which was the really first iteration, this came after for the other artists to know how the anatomy, the angle, and the measurement of the character will be placed inside the composition. So this works as a template for them to know where the assets will be placed and where are the measurements they need to keep in mind when doing each of the traits. We have two variations here because even if it's a minor detail too, it was important for us to keep the characters fresh, because having a character in the same angle all the time just becomes repetitive. So we wanted to see how, depending on the size of the arm or maybe the size of some features in the shell or in the front side of the body, you can change like the general silhouette of the character. And
so this is a man, right? Or this is the male character?
So
no, this is the male character.
This is the male character.
And how do you tell the difference between the two?
So doing a bit of a research into turtles anatomy, I found out that the male turtles, in the front part of their body, they have this sort of, how do you call this? Like a curve?
Concave.
Yes, they have this concave form, and they use it because when they're going to reproduce with the female, they have to go on top of her shell. So that's why they have this. While the female, they don't need that because, they're staying in the ground when having the reproduction. What changed in the female is the other side, the shell itself. The shell of the female is larger, so the male can keep the balance up there, While the male shell is a bit more, like fat or wider, because he doesn't need to keep the balance of anyone on top of him, right? So that's why. So these minor details, we use it in the character's design, and wanted to focus on that too, because some turtles are females, some turtles are males, some other are like combined or different genres. So
can you walk us through in the collection which ones are females and which ones are males?
Yeah, sure. Let's see. We can begin with the base characters. So for example, the very first iteration was this proposal of the Ronin character. This was the first characters of all, this came before the templates.
Yeah.
And he's a male character. We focus on the expression of the face, the form of the eyes, and the shape in the shell too. This is a minor detail, but I think when you are the designer of something, having these hot spots gives you like opportunities to move around and change some elements that are tiny details, but that can help you a lot when you have to design like so many characters, right?
Right.
So the next character is a female character, the Snow Shinobi. So we can see in this case the shell is a little bit more large, right? And we also have some accents in her eyes, like here in the shape of the eyes.
Yeah.
And really what we also like about this is that these were like really minor details, like you sometimes couldn't tell if they are female or male.
Sure.
So I think that was also a nice touch into the characters, especially because they are anthropomorphic, which means that it is a creature or an animal that have some human features. So as them being anthropomorphic, like they can be so versatile. This is one of the other base characters, Samurai.
This is the one that we put on the jacket.
We were playing with different shapes for the eyes. We were playing with the form of the head, not only the shape but also different colors. And inside we were playing with different textures. These ones are the Wastelands, very base characters. You can see also that certain details in the line art are more basic, less intricate or detailed than in the other iterations we've made. And this was the very first cyber character too. So we were exploring the layering, like what we saw before about the arm, the head, the shell, but then how this will be reorganized, how this will change depending on the, on the faction.
Yeah.
Even though it was going to be the same in the organization, the shapes changed it a lot because, cyber wastelands have contained really different materials and assets. For example, here you can see that this one inspired in Furiosa, the character from Mad Max. The leather, the materials that are like post-apocalyptic, like wasted materials, that they look old or they look like, like they have been through a lot. Everything changes the texture and how you feel about each of these characters. So it was a really, really nice exercise. Here we have one of the iconic base characters.
Yeah.
Jamieson just told me she had a name, Bubbles. And this is the very first sketch of the background and the line art for her. And then this is how the piece came out.
This one was this piece right here was so beautiful. We have the Kenji Shelllz Orb. Actually, I mean, you've been able to put that Kenji everywhere, and also the other artists included it in so many places and so many different spaces. This one was really cool. This one was also inspired, like one of the initial kind of animations. We wanted to have electricity flowing through this person's the wires and stuff like that. And it's just really incredible to see here on your monitor the epic detail. And I mean, can you even go to 100% resolution right now? You could never see the entire whole art, right?
Yes, when you have it in screen size, you never get to see all the details. You always have to go and zoom in.
And I mean, look at that. You're at 100% zoom, and you're only able to see, I think, like an eighth of the character, or something like this. You can see the little red box right over here, kind of showing where we are on the piece of the art. And that's sort of like one of the things, like when we set to make this project, we wanted to make sure that it was super high quality, 3500 pixels square, so when these things were displayed really big, you can see all of the detail. I have the entire collection on screensaver, or not screensaver, but desktop background. It switches, and so all day while I'm working, it's on the iPad, right? And the iPad has a clear screen, and it's going through and through and through, and I'm just looking at the art, and it so inspires me because I see more traits, I see pieces of the collection in a pretty good quality. iPad has a nice screen resolution density, and I get to see characters that I've almost never even seen before. There's 8,000, there's gonna be 9,000.
But in traits, it was like...
just under 2,500.
That's like crazy.
I think it's 2,490 or something like that. Yeah, so many traits. So how long does it take you to build something like this, like a character from, like this entire character?
So we went through different processes of like different pipelines. At the beginning, I was doing all by myself with the characters, like sketching, getting the idea, then line art. After the line art, we placed the flats or the solid colors, and after that, we start doing shading, volume, light. So it is a complex process, and when we get like the hang of the pipeline, it became something that we could calculate around 10 days between each character. And after we have new team members and we were planning on reaching a little bit more of base characters and having more traits over them, I started working with Malo and Monica, doing the line art on my side, and then they were helping me with the color. So in this way, I was doing around 2 characters per week and only line art.
Yeah.
And then I could just focus like on those and in that task, the design, the structure, composition, and line art. And then Malo and Monica were applying the color. And after a month, what I was doing, I was taking the characters that were already colorized, and then I was applying like the final details of light, shading, everything. And having it's crazy, but this also takes a lot of time to organize like the file itself, to clean it, merge the layers, organize the folders, and have it ready for the developer team to take the file and start doing the trait combination. So it is a process with a lot of different stages. It's super interesting, it's really fun, and it's something that keeps you busy, keeps your mind into it. It's interesting, it's completely creative process there. So it was nice how it evolved, how to get to manage the work between a pipeline of 3-4 people having this constant communication, and at some point also like having no communication at all, like also each one got like the flow of their own thing, their own activity. And there was a point where even the other artists were sending me some sketches, line arts, like very specific stages of their process, but it wasn't like at the beginning where the feedback was really constant, and we had to talk a lot and review each asset. At the end, like each artist just knew how it was, and they were also enjoying their own process, proposing their own ideas for the traits and the placements of some new traits. So yes, it was a complete evolution of the process from what we began with and into what ended up to be. And right now we are enjoying of that experience, after having all this complete experience in the next gen of characters. Like each person knows its own process, know what to do. So we are moving in a nice phase, and we are enjoying also this new creative process, like a lot of new ideas, a lot of new proposals, and we managed to get better. Like having to draw these like 2 characters per week or 1 character per week with this kind of intricate detail just makes you improve,
Yeah.
So so like we're excited as individuals who like to improve on their own craft, and what we do and what we love to do is really nice to see that we improve in our own process and our own way to do things. Oh, let's see, here I have some traits. We have like a lot of files, like
yeah.
We did a lot of changes at the end. And here are some of the first traits of base characters. You can see now the difference, a little bit more intricate, a little bit more of a detailed line art. The weight of the line also becomes a little bit more fat and a little bit more comic style. And then this is what we kept on doing with the complete art direction. the artworks. For example, here is a character in flat colors without volume, without shades and light. I think it also looks cool. You know, it's different. Different vibe from the character. It feels a little bit like a 80s or 90s comic. I really like it too. But you know, if we wanted to push it a little bit forward, we decided to go into adding more detail into the final look of the art.
So would you say that that's like kind of the special sauce that we have is, you know, taking the colors and, you know, because if you go to the base colors without the volume and everything that we have, it kind of feels like most other collections. You know, it feels like a lot of other NFT collections. So it seems like the really like the adding of the shadows and whatnot inside of our collection is what makes it kind of different from and stand out in the NFT marketplace. Would you say that's right?
Yes, exactly. And the amount of traits too. Just in one character, as we've seen, we had 11 traits just in the character, plus foreground, plus background. So 13 traits, 13 layers in one character.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have 10 characters with each one 13 layers, the combinations, the amount of combinations is not only huge, but also if you keep rich and cohesive style into each of these characters, they can really merge into something really cool. I remember I was talking this with Jamieson at the beginning that I thought it was important from what I was seeing in the collections that were, you know, getting out there into the market. I saw a lot of mix, you know, like for example, I could do a Ronin, another character, and then this cyber will have like a Ronin arm.
Yeah.
Right? So I was like, for me, in many collections, they were doing that because that will give them volume.
Right.
But when you see the shape and the color and everything, it didn't make sense. Like, it looks like, you know, like you just have a mixture of a lot of stuff, and at the end, sometimes it doesn't make really sense, doesn't look good, doesn't have like a concept. So that's when we came with the idea of having groups and factions. So each faction will contain a number of base characters from where we could combine them. But we never combine another with a cyber or a cyber with a wastelands scavenger. Like, we always keep them in the same group. So I think that's also an important fact, an important detail we keep in mind to keep our collection to look so good, because each trait makes sense and was cohesive in the faction they were. We weren't combining everything, because imagine if we have just from separating the factions, we have like 9,000 NFTs. If we just combine everything with everything, like Nada and Cyberpunk, we could have made like 3 times more. But I think that's the spirit of the project, to keep something that really makes sense, you know, that has craft and artistry and a concept behind it. And here, for example, you can see now a full threaded character. Just the arm. If you open the layer of the arm, we have 8 traits for this arm, just in this character. And as I was explaining at the beginning, you can see how when we change each of the traits, it will always make sense with the palette of the character. Like, we were really keeping in mind the color palette of the base character that we were combining. And this is really nice process with Malu and Monica, because let's say I took this trait from another cyber character, but the palette was completely different. Let's say it has Bubbles palette that is a pink with a cyan. So what we did is we took those traits into other cybers, but then we modified the color palette to keep it real with the base core character. So at the end, everything always makes sense, no matter which trait you change. For example, this is a trait of one of the other base cyber characters. And here we change the palette to orange, black, cyan, and yes, it all combines. And I think that's the magic of this project. Here in the hat, we have 14 traits of different hats.
Oh, wow.
And this is like a game. Like, it was really cool after we have done all this process to just start like turning on and off all the different layers and seeing how they all combine and match, reviewing that everything was in order. The minor detail I explained at the beginning, that the size of the head matches, so no matter if I put this hoodie or this, it will always make sense with the size and the placement of the head. Here we have the mask. It has 12 traits.
Oh, maybe we gotta take the head off. The head off.
Let's take the hat. But something important here too is also the order of the layers. So as the hat is on top of the mask, anytime we place a mask that collides with the hat will be on top of the mask. So it also makes more sense, like we could have this kind of combination here where they collide a little bit, but they still work.
Yeah. Why don't we go into a little bit of a sneak peek of G2? Talk to us about what we have going on here.
So we have here G2 for Nara, and the first stage we're working on is how to transform the Shelllz first collection characters into what's in the lore is going to be a mutation of these characters, right? So
yeah,
right here you will recognize this human character as one of the base characters on the first collection, specifically the first Nara Ronin character. And what we are going to do, that I think all in the team wanted to push the style, the collection, another step forward into the detail and into the uniqueness of the traits. And so while designing the new idea of how we're going to organize the characters and the traits on this one, I thought we could find a way to create different characters, like completely different characters, from their own posture, their own angle, even their own traits, their own distribution of traits. And it turns out that the idea worked. I started to do the test with the Nara character. I have some initial sketches here. This was the very first exploration, and I thought here was that it was nice, but we were keeping again like something that is already being seen out there, these front view characters, but with a posture that it has a continuity in each of them. Like all of the characters will have this same posture, right? Like that's something to see in all the NFT projects. So I thought like how we can push this another step forward, and I thought, okay, I'm going to create, inspired by the one-of-ones process that I did also, like I'm going to create a character as if it's a one-of-one, its own posture, its own layering, everything, and see how it turns out if I do traits over this base character. So I proposed this new version of the Nara Ronin, and it turned out that all of these different postures will have an original way of combining each of these traits. And this will be the template for this character, right? So if I'm going to do then another cyber character, that cyber character is going to have its own posture, its own angle, and in that way also its own number and organization of traits. And basically all of the characters will become like unique. Obviously we have to keep like a template, but the template now will be like massive, you know, like each character will have its own template. So variations will come on super smooth, really nice, and each character will feel completely unique. So from this idea, I have done different line arts. Malu and Monica are doing color to this one. So for example, this one has been already colorized for the flats color. And I'm going to show you here a little bit of the organization of the layering, right? So if I remove all of these pieces, you will see that the character has a lot of details, and at the same time that it is created in a way that the layers can, it is like a puzzle. Honestly, this is one of the most creative parts of the process, because I have to figure out how, if I move this layer, or if I remove it, or if I make a new trait of the arm that is a little bit longer or shorter or whatever, what is that I'm going to see below, right? So that's why I designed this posture, because I wanted to create different kind of arms where I could see in some parts, in some traits, more of the face of the character.
Yeah.
And in others, we could just have like this super ninja Ronin character where we didn't see any of his face, with the hat, with the mask. I developed a lot of traits for the weapons, the accessories, and this is the template for this character. So I will be doing the same pose for this with different traits, but what happens when I go to a new character?
Can you show us on this character maybe like what the process is of going from this colorized version that Malu and Monaco gives you? Or maybe it could be a different character if you want. I just saw another one.
Yes.
I like this guy right here, yeah.
So this one is inspired in the Furiosa base character of the Wastelands. And
which was inspired by Mad Max.
Exactly, and you will see that this is another base character, but you will see that it's completely different. You know, the posture, the angle, completely different to the Ronin character, to the Nara character. And that's the core and the new idea and concept of this new collection, is that each character will contain its own inner world of traits and layering. So for Furiosa, in this case, from the Wastelands, I think we have just 2 layers less than the Ronin.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, these details at the end of the time of the production doesn't matter, because still they have a lot of detail, they have a lot of combinations that we can manage.
All right, walk us through finishing, like, let's say like the face, like without the mask on it, right? Like this is just flat color. So show us a little bit about your, like, the process of going from this flat color image to what we, like the images that we produce, like the final image.
Okay, so for example here, with the face, first we have all these different combinations we can have, right? All the layers placed on. If you remove one layer, if you remove the other one, if you keep this one, this is a really cool process here. And after I receive these files, what I do is I have to remove all of the other ones, like all of the layers, so I can get to see the complete shape of that layer, because I don't want to miss any part or any section when I'm applying the color. So having this in mind here, what I do here, we have the line art, right? And here are the color assets that Malu and Monica applied here. So here you will see that we already contain different skin colors I have different colors for the eyes too. And we have also some variations in the hair. So I'm going to keep just one of the tones here as main. And what I do now is I create a new layer and I place a general shadow over this layer, right? So we start with an atmospheric shadow, which I'm going to use as a guide for me to know from what direction is the sunlight, or if we have artificial light source is going to affect my character, right? Which is the direction of the light that is affecting my character right now. And I will manage different percentage here, so it is not too strong. And with this soft light, then I create again another layer, which I'm going to apply solid, flat shadows. Usually these shadows contain a little bit of a color. I like to use a color that goes with the atmosphere of the character. For example, as she is in a desert, the layer of shadow is going to be a little bit more into a warmth color. And I like to have it in 100% to check on how the contrast of each of these shadows will work with the character, right? So I focus a lot on the first direction I place of the atmospheric shadow, soft shadow, and I use it as a guide to create these reflections of shadows, these drop shadows.
So you're putting some stuff in the hair, the ears.
Exactly, it's a process of taking care of the layer with the most amount of precision in all the areas. Like, I don't know if maybe in some trait we will get to see this part, so I really like to go into all of the sections and fill them. So if in a trait we can see all this section here, it contains shadow, it contains light, like it doesn't feel unfinished, or like, you know, like we have a piece that is without a complete work out there. So this is a process that I could compare to a bit of a comic book process, because it is working on flat shadows mainly and cell shade process, and it usually works like that also with the lights, right? I like to place some strong highlights in some areas. And I will turn down a little bit of the percentage, so it is not again so strong.
Yeah.
And I just begin to check in.
So it knows which layer you're in.
Yes, they have different options for the layer. So if you want to highlight the shadows, for example, if you want contrast, or if you want to colorize, you can place different options in the layers. So in this case, I'm going to do the highlights. So I place an option of the layer that helps me to create more contrast and more light out of this yellow color.
Yeah.
And it helps a lot because it merges with the colors that are below there. So at the end, it takes in account the skin color or the hair color or whatever the base color you're working on. I basically use the same process. I do these strong lights, and then I do a soft light for the general piece again. let's say I finish here with some of these lights, and we can also do some of huge drops of light, of groups of light, and we can mix them a little bit with the base colors, you know, do a kind of a blend.
Yeah. It's almost like applying makeup.
Exactly, yes.
Oh, wow.
And then I do the same that I did with the shadows, but then I do it with the light. As she's in a desert, I use a warm light. And again, I put it all over the right side, which was the initial direction I placed for the light source to be in. And I turn it down a little bit. This was like a quick way of showing how the process goes, but when Jamieson isn't with the camera, I'm just joking, but obviously when I'm doing the process, like the complete process, I'm taking care of any ideas I can come with, apply extra layers of shadow, you know. Here is like a quick way of showing the steps, but yes, and it goes like this with all the layers, and then we merge them.
It's funny, like in cinema, we always talk about you want to film from the dark side. You know, you want the light to come from like behind the subject or whatever, and that like kind of gives like the best light, and you can see like, you know, we're like the orientation of the light right here in this subject, it's coming from, we're looking at the dark side of her face, basically, which is really cool. It's so cool to see this character, like the skin tones blend in with her. It's such a dynamic image, and it's funny because it started out, you know, basically kind of looking, you know, like pretty much a normal kind of like anime, you know, sort of thing, yeah. And now it's just like, it's something that has so much more depth and detail than where we started with it. Like it really feels almost, you know, hyper realistic in a way. Would you say that you're trying to, you know, like make the art hyper realistic without being, you know, 3D generated and modeled? Like, because I think your art and like what we're doing here at the Orb is like, it's kind of a step above all of the other anime, would you say? Like,
it definitely has an extra amount of detail into what the styles brings on, but at the same time it is not hyper realistic. What I like to do with my style is to bring on into the line art, into what you will say it is a kind of comic line. I like to bring into that the stages of light, volume, texture, which then makes everything like pops out a lot. But in drawing we have some rules and sayings that obviously you can break and you can then manage for your own convenience, but they are about, like, if you have a lot of line, then the light, the volume, the color has to be a little bit more simple, more clean.
Yeah.
Because the line is like the main focus and structure. If you have not a lot of lines, then you will have to give shape and form to your piece with color and with light and with volume and with textures and with silhouettes. So I wanted to bring that concept and try to play a little bit with that, because I like to do a lot of line, but I also like to apply different types of lights, volumes, textures. So it's been difficult to this process, because a lot of times I can do stuff that has like so many line and then a lot of volume and a lot of light and texture, so it also can become like very blurry, you know, like you're seeing too many things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a process of experience, you know, of trying to find this middle point where I can apply sufficient detail that I feel satisfied with the final result of the piece, but at the same time that it doesn't works against the piece, you know, like it helps the piece, it gives an extra, a plus. It's not that it's going to hurt the piece. And that's been something that has come along with experience, honestly. But definitely there is an idea to go into more detail than the normal styles of flat colors and just one overlay of shadow. We're having here, at least without being hyper realistic, at least we have 2 overlays of shadow, 2 overlays of light. I think it's good. It's cool because Jamieson obviously gave me the chance to work with my own style. And
you know, Jamieson is me, right?
And then this
he's talking to me. He's talking to me like I'm not here. Like, guys, I'm here. We're here. We're together.
Third person Jamieson.
In real life, the Jamieson, that guy. Who is that guy? I don't know. It's me. Whoa! Now we got a purple light going on in there. What is that? Is that the light from the cyber, the future?
Yes, it can be. This helps to create contrast. Maybe I will turn it down a little bit after I work in the other assets, but I like to create these contrasts between colors, complementary colors, right? So we have like right side shiny sunlight, and the left side we have this blue contrast. It definitely helps the character to stand out more. And at the end I can put it down a little bit, but it always helps to have this kind of drop line, you know. We call it in Spanish luz reflejada o proyectada, and it means that it is another source light that reflects into the character or the background you are designing, and it helps to give like extra contrast to the piece.
So let's see this head now. This is like almost done, yeah?
Let's say it's almost done. So then we go to the line art and we apply a color to the line art that goes within the, you know, the same color palette of the character flat colors and also the volume we just added. So the line is at the end not completely black. It has sort of a tone there. And let's say this one is ready. So then I put on the body and I start doing the same process with the body, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to always be checking what is working with the light and volume. Like sometimes I have to go back to one of the layers and modify something because perhaps in the arm or in the body it doesn't match. And
all right, so degens love boobs. Anime, like the female character in anime is like super popular. So what are we gonna do to these boobs? What are we gonna do with them?
So here we follow it's honestly the same process, right? It just changed the form, the shape. But here we will spend some minutes again trying to apply the soft light, the highlights, the shadows, and yes, and see how it goes with the face. As this layer is on top of the head, I will let the head there because the head doesn't cover any part of the body, right? So I'm aware that I'm having an eye in all the asset.
Mm-hmm.
So anything passes by the process, and let's say I'm applying the same kind of technique here. If this was a flat illustration, I will need to keep in mind the elements that are on top. For example, if I have this in a flat image, I would have done a drop shadow from this element here.
Oh yeah.
But as this is going to be a trait, then I can do this because if it follows up the silhouette of that element. If I remove it, I will have like just a drop of a shapeless shadow there. So all these kind of stuff we have to keep in mind. Also with the arm, for example, in a flat illustration, because the light is coming from there, I will have created these lights from the arm, these shadows from the arm here. But in this case, as we don't have a flat illustration, we have these traits. I have to try to mix, have a consistency between the light of all the piece, but again also try to keep it individual. I'm doing this like super fast here, like not putting a lot of attention, just to show you a bit of how it will work. But yes, in essence, it's the same process I did with the head. We're adding now some highlights. In this, for example, in this part of the process, I usually go a little bit zooming because I want to keep detail and know where I'm applying. When I want to be loose and a little bit more relaxed about the process, it's better to zoom out. So here we're doing zoom out because it's just like a demonstration of the process, but we usually zoom it a bit more to, keep consistency between the silhouettes, the forms. And then we will come to this shape, right? So we have to do this same process with all these layers. And when it's ready, when it's done, we will apply a layer of noise, a texture to each of the traits to give this nice sensation of old, like you feel the image has this old style noise. Let's see. Let's apply it here just for the example. With the background in there. Let's put off the mask to see what we have done. So this is how the character will be looking now so far. And yes, just looking to it, I'll be excited to place, for example, now I have some ideas on how in the glasses I can put some really cool lights coming, like warm lights, yellow lights coming from the right, and then I can play with the blue lights in the other part of the illustration, creating reflections here to keep with this contrast. And after that, what we do is we copy this file, we merge everything, and we name it. And then the developer team takes the file, and they start to, to create the iterations of different characters, different mixtures. What I like about this technique also is, besides that it has a unique pose and silhouette for the character, we also can play a lot with some of the traits just by removing them or having them into the character. Right here, if I just remove the mask and the glasses, it can be one character completely different. If I remove this piece here, so we have like a copy of the character back there, right? So here, for example, this could be just one of the traits, one of the NFTs, sorry. This could be another one, this could be another one. This can be the complete one. We can remove the weapon, we can remove some of these accessories too. We could just get like a cleaner version of the character, but it will still work.
Amazing. I'm excited for this one. She looks great. So any closing thoughts, Voyager?
No, super excited. Like, obviously for the pieces that I'm creating, I'm having fun. I'm enjoying the process a lot. Even right now here, I have a sketch of the next one. I really wanted to try this kind of position, you know, like having the character from the back and doing like a lot of assets and traits in the back of the character and having him looking into us. So yes, really excited for this new one, but I'm also really excited to see how my colleagues are bringing up new concepts, new ideas, and new proposals. Like they are playing with the angles. Like this takes it into another step, because now they can propose their really unique character from their own. So you're not only going to check and see a new character portrayed, but each artist is literally creating like a complete new shape and NFT. So the collection, I think, is going to be insane. I'm excited for that.
And just to kind of like make people aware, what we've built and what we've created here is, what we believe to be the highest quality, NFT production studio, that one of the highest quality art studios that Web3 has ever seen. And we hope to look to work with other projects and not only expand just our own art, but take the orb and grow the orb and be able to expand and hire more artists to bring more high quality art into the NFT PFP art realm. So if you're looking, if you have an NFT project and maybe you need better art because your art that you got from somewhere else wasn't that good, or your community just wants to kind of like level up, please do get in touch with the orb and reach out to us, and we'll see if we can put your project into the orb incubator and help build Web3 together and help build stronger communities in our space. So with that, over and out. We'll catch you in the next episode. Voyager, let everybody know where they can follow you.
Oh yes, in Instagram you can find me as Voyager _spirit _ right. In Twitter as Voyager 17. Yes.
Yeah.
And yes, I think that's it right now for my socials. Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you soon. Take care.